Hello everybody, this is Joe from PrepAgent. How everybody's doing today? How is everybody doing today? Hello everybody. It looks like we have a lot of first timers today. If this is your first time on the webinar, write 1. If it's your second time on the webinar, write 2. Third time on the webinar, write 3, and so on down the line. And of course, if you guys can hear me, that's great. I believe my connection's pretty good today, so I think we're off to a good start. Once again, for those of you who keep saying I can't hear anything, you got to wait till the screen comes up, and then usually I'll start talking a few seconds after that. Ooh, Carrie Emmerich says 20 plus. It's a lot. We got a lot of first timers though. We got a 10th timer, Nicole Rollins. Cool. Okay, so we're doing vocabulary today. Whenever we do vocabulary, I always tell you guys this is basically a glorified vocabulary exam. You guys got to start with your vocabulary and you finish the vocabulary. In between that, you do the practice exams and all the other things we offer. But you don't do anything until you know your vocabulary. You do not do any practice exams till you do the vocabulary. Everybody write, I promise. I want you guys to promise me you do not do practice exams until the vocabulary has been nailed down. Has everybody got it right? I promise. Do not do the practice exams until the vocabulary is nailed down. If you don't do that, it'll be an exercise of frustration. You guys got to trust. Adrian and Arthur and I put a lot of time into strategizing the best way to get you guys past. If you do the questions first, it's an exercise of frustration because you're learning wrong information. What I mean by that is there's 4 options. Only one of them are correct. The other 3 are not correct. And you sit there contemplating the other 3 all the time, you could be taking in wrong information. Whereas you do the vocabulary, there's only one correct option, and that's the option you fill in. Does that make sense for everybody? When you do the vocabulary, there's only one thing you could write in, or one thing you can answer. Whereas a multiple choice, you're contemplating 3 things, okay, that could be wrong. Has everybody got that? Does that make sense? Seems pretty obvious to me, so I want you guys to follow that. Okay, so the first vocabulary you see on the board is the cost replacement approach. The cost replacement approach. Okay, so what is that? What comes to mind when we're talking about the cost replacement approach? All right, what comes to mind when you're talking about the cost replacement approach? What do you guys think? I want you guys to remember this. The cost to replace it brand new. The cost to replace it brand new. Okay? Remember, we want to narrow down these definitions as much as possible. When we're talking about the cost replacement approach, we are talking about basically how much would it cost to replace the building brand new. Now, there's 3 appraisal approaches you guys need to know for your exam. Who knows what they are? What are the 3 appraisal approaches you guys need to know for your exam? What do you guys think? Now, you guys are not studying to be appraisers. Their test is much more in depth on this stuff than ours is. But still, you got to know the basics of it. So what are the 3 approaches you need to know? So you got the market data approach, also known as doing comps. You have the cost replacement approach. And you have the capitalization income approach. Capitalization income approach. Which one of those is most commonly used? Out of those 3 we just mentioned, the market data comparison approach, the capitalization income approach, or the cost replacement approach, which one is the most commonly used? The market data comparison approach. We use that every time we go to the store. I want to buy these shoes. Am I paying a good price? I don't know. How much do the shoes in the store over there cost? If they're similar, I know I got a good price. We do that with houses all the time. My house is looks pretty nice. Their house is worth 500 grand. If their house is worth 500 grand, and it's very similar to mine must be worth at least 600 because their design is super lame and mine is awesome. You guys probably heard that before, right? Okay, so that's the market data approach. you compare. Now, the cost replacement approach says how much would it cost to replace it brand new? Why would you do that? Well, the third approach is the income approach. What is the income approach? What is the capitalization income approach? You guys know what that is? What's the capitalization income approach? The capitalization income approach, I want everybody to write this down. We're all going to write this down in the chat. Everybody ready? Right, ready. Because I want you to write this down. I want to make sure everybody gets this. The capitalization income approach. You ready? I want you to write converts income into value. Converts income into value. Everybody got that? That's the easiest way I could explain the capitalization income approach. Converts income into value. I want to see that on the chat. I want to see that written on the chat many times over. Converts income into value. As you guys know, Adrian, Arthur, and I are very big on writing things down, because if you just stare at it, it'll go into your eyes and out your ears. It will not sink in, okay? We believe in active learning. That's why our vocab sheets, we promote you guys writing things in, because this stuff is super boring. We always say, if you can't sleep at night, open up your real estate exam book and you'll be out in 2 seconds. Anybody tried that? Woo, can't get to sleep, got a lot of energy. Let me start studying my real estate. All right, anybody have that happen? So make sure you're studying in an active manner. So it converts income into value. The income approach says, well, here's the building. This shoe store sells incredible amount of shoes here. They do a lot of business. That means something to me when I buy this property, because these businesses are really successful. How much does it mean? That's when the capitalization income approach comes in. It kind of tells me how much. It puts it in tangible terms, because you know that if businesses do well in that building has more value. That's obvious. What's not obvious is the exact amount of how much value that adds to the building. And that's what that approach does. Does that make sense, everybody? We all know it adds value, but actually putting a number on it, that's another story unto itself. And we don't really have to do that, but appraisers do. Appraisers do that. But we do need to know what it is. Okay, so the cost replacement approach says that there is no income. There is nothing to compare it to. So basically, you take this property and you close your eyes, imagine it's not there, and you got to build it brand new and ask yourself, how much would that cost? This would obviously not work well with old buildings, because it's hard to factor in depreciation, cost of construction, the materials. This works really well with buildings that are brand new themselves. If a building was built yesterday, you just ask the construction people, how much it cost to build it? That much? All right, that's how much it's worth. Simple. So this works better with new buildings, not old. Everybody got that? Works better with new buildings, not old. A lot of you guys named special purpose properties when I said the cost replacement approach. When we're talking about special purpose properties, what am I talking about? A lot of you guys named them in the chat. What are we talking about when we talk about special purpose properties? We were talking about libraries, schools, synagogues, churches, mosques, things of that nature, religious centers we're referring to, police stations, fire stations, we could keep going with this, hospitals, community centers, things of that nature. Basically things that do not have comparables, and their purpose is not to bring in income. Okay? Has everybody got that? So those would be special purpose properties. Historical buildings, it's a great example, Malu. All right? Museums, things of that. We could keep going. Okay, so that is how much it costs to place brand new. Obviously, it's a very difficult approach because most of these buildings you guys just named are usually pretty old. When was the last time you saw a brand new library? Doesn't come up that much. Okay, Rachel Ford says hospitals bring in plenty. Touche, Rachel. I'll use a different example then, but you get my point. I don't want to get into a whole political conversation about our medical care. Boy, would that be a slippery slope. Okay, riparian rights. Riparian rights. So Ramon Cervantes says, does fair housing apply with a club? You cannot discriminate when it comes to a club, but I don't think that has to do with fair housing. There are discrimination laws that apply to a club for sure, but I think fair housing particularly refers to owning property, not necessarily club memberships. But we could look into that further. Okay, riparian rights. Remember this, guys. Riparian river, riparian river, riparian river, riparian river, riparian river. Do riparian rights always refer to owning property by a river? Do riparian rights always refer to owning property by a river? Techniques with the actual definition. All right, guys? Just like when I say chattel, cattle, cow, cows, move. Chattel does not refer to cows. It's just a memory technique to remember that cows are movable, therefore it's personal property. So when you see chattel on your exam, don't start looking for the answer of cows. Like, where's the cow? I don't see it. Joe said moo. I don't see a cow. Okay, it has to do with personal property. So riparian has to do with a moving body of water, as opposed to littoral rights, which has to do with what? What did littoral rights have to do with? So if riparian has to do with a moving body of water, what do littoral rights have to do with? They have to do with, oh, you guys keep saying lake. What am I looking for? I'm looking for you to say water that's not moving. I just said don't go with the memory technique. I want the definition. Littoral lake, littoral lake. If your screen is blurry, make sure you settings to 720. Okay, yield. What is a yield? What is the yield? Who's heard that word before? Yield. Yield is the lender's profit when they do a loan. Okay, good. Ad valorem. Ad valorem has to do with according to value. According to value. Good. What other Latin do we learn for the exam? So we got according to value. What other Latin do you guys learn for the exam? What other Latin do we learn for the exam? We learned chattel real, we just went over before, which is personal property. We learned novation, nova is Latin for new. We learned lease pendent, which is Latin for lawsuit pending. Okay, all these are very important. Here's a tough one for you guys. Let's see who's been really studying. What is Latin for the life of another? The life of another. We learned this when we talk about life estates. Life estates. Okay, what is Latin for the life of another? If you guys get this right, I'd give you a cookie. Oh, Inez Panic is on the right path. Pure Ocho V. Nice job, Natalie Perea. And SK Tar Hour. Natalie Perea, Pure Ocho V. Natalie Perea gets a big fist bump. Pure otro vi. Muy bien. Felicidades. Soy feliz para ti. Okay. Okay, so moving on. Arthur wanted me to ask you guys a question. And what he wanted me to ask you guys is if you guys would like an email sent in the morning every day we have a webinar. All right. We send it once a week right now, and we also have it on the Facebook events page. Adrian, would you mind putting a link to our Facebook events page? That would be great. If you could put a link to the Facebook events page, you could see where we have it. But he wanted me to ask you guys if you guys would prefer an automatic email that comes every day we have a webinar. Are you guys sure? A lot of people saying yes, but we don't want to get all spammy on you guys and get nasty emails back saying, stop spamming me. Because we do send the daily emails. All right, we don't want to, we're very respectful of that. Nobody likes spammy spammers. Speaking of, if you see anybody spamming our group with stupid advertisements, let us know. We will ban them forever. I'm referring to our Real Estate Exam Facebook group. Okay, so if you guys want a daily email, okay, Arthur could set that up for sure. Okay, so Arthur, it looks like there's a big yes to that one. Looks like everybody's down with daily emails. It is truly an honor to be in a situation where people want you to email them a lot. How many businesses could say that, where if we say, we're going to send you emails every day, and people are like, cool, bring it. Most businesses, if you say, I want to email you every day, you'd be like, no way. Get my email out of your list. But it looks like it's a different deal for us, so we are pretty excited about that. Okay, back to the words on the board. We have the word testate. Okay, what does that mean? What does testate mean? Diana Brunis is not necessary. Diana, if we do that, you can opt out. We'll be happy to take that out for you. We definitely don't want to send people who don't want it. Okay, testate means dying with a will. What does it mean to die without a will? What does it mean to die without a will? Excuse me, what's the term involved with dying without a will? So testate's with a will, intestate is without a will. What is the government power that can take your property if you die intestate with no heirs? What is the government power that can take your property if you die intestate with no heirs? And the answer is escheat. Escheat, good. Escheat is one of the 4 government powers. Can you guys tell me what are the other 3? What are the other 3? So escheat is one of the 4 government powers. Can you guys tell me what are the other 3? And the other 3 are police power, eminent domain, and taxation, which brings us to the acronym of PEAT, which stands for police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. Which leads me to my next question. What is the difference between police power and eminent domain? What is the difference between police power and eminent domain? These two often get confused. Who knows the answer to that? The difference between police power and eminent domain. What do you guys think? So the fundamental difference between police power and eminent domain is eminent domain, they take the property away from you, and police power, they just tell you how to use it. Has everybody got that? Now, we could get into more detail about the differences, but on its surface, on the most basic level, eminent domain, they'll take the property from you because they need it for the greater good to build like a highway or do something else. Police power, they don't take a property away from you, they tell you how to use it through things like zoning and building codes, things of that nature. Has everybody got that? So because they're not taken away from you, you shouldn't expect compensation to be paid. Whereas eminent domain, they are taken away from you, so just compensation would be paid. Has everybody got that? Just compensation would be paid, okay? What is that process called in eminent domain where just compensation gets paid? And hopefully that clarifies that for you. How many guys were confused about that before? Hopefully that clears up the twos. I feel like a lot of you guys knew like police power had something to do with like rules and eminent domain was like take, I'm not sure, and there was like money and something. Like you memorized the textbook definitions, but they weren't really clear. So I hope I cleared it up for you. That was my goal. Okay, so the process where they pay is called condemnation. Condemnation. This is different than a property getting condemned. Don't get that confused, okay? So the process is called condemnation. Glad I could help Melissa Lebensky. Big high five for you. Okay, so condemnation is when they give you money for the property. What's it called when they do not give you money for the property and you turn around, you sue the government for that money? What's that called? Looks like Rachel Ford already said it. You're way ahead of me, Rachel. Good job. That would be inverse condemnation. Inverse condemnation. So that was a little summary of our government powers, which can be found in our property ownership section. How am I doing today, guys? I feel like I got a good vibe. I did exercise before the webinar today. Never really do that. Don't know I'll do it again either. The exercise stuff is not fun. Yuck. Okay, what is a balloon loan? What is a balloon loan? Oh, Cynthia says she loves the questions of the day. That was Arthur's idea. It was a great idea he had when he built that. Make sure you guys sign up for that. If you guys don't know, what she's referring to is an email sent every day with a different question. And what that does, it keeps you on task. And maybe every once in a while, you'll get a question you don't know the answer to, which will prompt you to get studying. Okay, so balloon loan is a large payment that is involved in a partially amortized loan. I want you guys to remember that word. Everybody write that down. Partially amortized loan. I want to see that written. Partially amortized loan. Partially amortized loan is when you're making your payments, but one large payment is due at the end, and that large payment is called the balloon payment, which is obviously involved in that balloon loan. Okay, partially amortized loan. Unilateral contract. What is a unilateral contract? What is a unilateral contract? Movie Cinema asked, what is open end? Hold that thought. Ask me again after we do the unilateral contract, and I'll answer that for you. Unilateral contract means there is one promise. Bilateral means there are two promises. A lot of people say it's one person, but that wouldn't make sense because you wouldn't need a contract with yourself unless it's like one of those motivational things you write in the morning, like I promise to exercise and call my mother and that kind of stuff. Okay? All right, so unilateral contract is one promise. Okay, now somebody said open-end loan. An open-end loan is like a credit card. You could keep borrowing against it. You could keep borrowing against it. Okay, moving right along. Blind ad. Blind ad, what's that? Blind ad means there's no broker's name. No broker's name. Good. Exclusive listing. What is exclusive listing? What is an exclusive listing? Exclusive listing. Exclusive listing means there's only one broker involved. There are two types of exclusive listings. Who knows what there are? There are two types of exclusive listings. Two types of exclusive listings we studied for the exam. Do you guys know what they are? You have an exclusive right to sell, an exclusive agency listing. Exclusive right to sell, an exclusive agency listing. Okay. What do you call a non-exclusive listing? What do you call a non-exclusive listing? Anybody know? What would you call a non-exclusive listing? What would you call a non-exclusive listing? That would be an open listing. By the way, if this is going fast for you guys, please remember that this is all recorded, so you can watch it again and you can pause it at your own pace. So if it is going a little fast for you guys, I understand that, but do not worry, the recording is available for you. Okay, so a non-exclusive listing would be an open listing. Steering. What is steering? What is steering? Okay, so steering is a fair housing violation where you're pushing people to buy in certain areas based upon racial and ethnic composition. Everybody get that? It's basically saying you're one of those people, you should live over there with your people. That is a violation of fair housing. Other violations of fair housing would be panic selling, blockbusting, panic pelling, which is when you say you better sell because those people are moving to town. You don't want to live by those people, do you? Okay, those are fair housing violations. What year did the Federal Fair Housing Act come into play? What year did the Federal Fair Housing Act come into play? 1968. 1968. Good. And Roro says redlining. That's another great example of a fair housing violation, and that has to do with financing. That is when you target a certain area of town that you will not do finance for them based upon the racial composition of that part of town. And that's called redlining. All right? Great job, Roro. Vendee. What is a vendee? A vendee. What is a vendee? A vendee would be a buyer. A vendor would be a seller. We do have to remember our OREE rule. Lessor, vendor, optionors, give or the propertor for your pleasure. Vendee, lessee, grantee, optionee gives me property, makes me happy. We all remember that silly little saying. Would I call that a poem? I wouldn't call it a poem. I would call it like I don't know what I would call that. But it's mine, and I like it. Made it up all on my own. If you see it in a book, they took it from me. Life estate. What is a life estate? What is a life estate? A life estate is when you have a property based upon somebody else's life. Maybe I should patent it like that guy patented, let's get ready to rumble. You know that guy owns that phrase? Incredible. Okay, a life estate is when you own property based upon somebody else's life. Good job, everybody. Okay, mechanics lien. Mechanics lien. What is a mechanics lien? Mechanics lien. Mechanics lien is when you did not pay somebody who does work on your property and they put a lien on your property, and that becomes a specific lien, which means they could take one thing, that property, if you don't pay them. Modern Love says, can you explain a mortgagor or mortgagee? Sure, we'll end on that note. A mortgagor is the OR because they are the giver of the promissory note, that evidence of a debt. They're usually the one borrowing money. The mortgagee is the lender, usually a bank, and they are the EE because they receive that promissory note, and they need to receive that before they lend any money. There's confusion on that because a lot of people, when they hear OR, they think about the money, like the mortgagor is giving money and mortgagee receives money, but that's not the case. Okay, and that's where that confusion comes in. You got to think about what happens before the money. Before the money is exchanged, the OR gives, and what they're giving is that promissory note, that evidence of the debt, the collateral. And the mortgagee receives that money, and then money comes into play. Okay? So the OREE is not switched there. It's a suffix. It doesn't get switched. You just got to understand what is being given and what is being received. All right? Does that make sense, everybody? So if you start thinking it gets switched, that'll make it more confusing. It's more important just to remember exactly what it is they're talking about. And they're not talking about the money when they have that OREE at the end of the names. They're talking about the promissory note, the evidence of the debt. Does that clear it up for you guys? I hope that helps clear it up. I know that causes confusion for some of you. Because that can get a little tricky. All right. So that is that. That is all for today. I hope you guys had a great time today. I felt like this went well today. We had a very good vibe. Check out my Instagram. I got a picture of my sister's dog. She just got a dog, so I wanted to share that with the world. It's making her very happy, so I wanted to spread the joy. The Instagram is prep_agent, and you can find it there. And with that being said, for Arthur and Adrian, this is Joe from PrepAgent, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Bye.